Hi, and welcome to Empowerment Unleashed Now. I'm Michelle Jones.
I'm Scott Collins.
Howdy, howdy, y'all. We are here, second week of Pisces season. No, pardon me, second week of March. What is it, Scott? Like third week of Pisces season.
Yes. Yeah.
Time is going so fast. I am somebody that usually can kind of keep up with the time space continuum. And I understand that time and space is breaking down. But I'm going to tell you this, I need some harmonizing of my frequency today. And some sound healing with some astrological alignment with our guest who's going to be joining us after our energetic Empower Ranger report, Aleya Dao, which, no, I am like hyper pronouncing. It's Dao. It's Aleya Dao. Oh my God. What am I
Name.
having like a Harry Belafonte moment? Like, did like what? Telling you, I'm all over the place, dude. But so like deep introspection is to me karmic introspection, like it's part of the theme of Pisces, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the energetic recalibration, I mean, it is the last sign Pisces, right, of the zodiac. So like last week with our listeners, we talked about letting go of emotional baggage, right? Like little Elsa, like singing, let it go, let it go. Yeah, I don't know what's going through my head today, but we were letting go of stuff. And now here we are, once we've let go, we're ready to decide where we want to frequently hang out, which I think is our frequency. And part of the recalibration and a shift in personal empowerment, I think happens in this dreamy, like Pisces, like you're a 19-degree, like moon Pisces, right? That's you.
That's me.
You're kind of like, and I don't mean it like this. I don't mean like dreamy, like that, like, back in the day, like teen beat, tiger beat. So like, I mean, cause Liz, I saw you on a girls trip with my friends that did think you were dreamy. Yes, I did say that. And so legitimately, the dreaminess of it to me as a hypnotherapist, as like a colon hygienist, deals with the unconscious mind and our higher self, our soul self that knows all of our lifetimes, all of our multidimensionality, right? Like that's the place in the space that really knows what's up within us. It's like the we, right? It's like all of the incarnations across all of the timelines. Um, I don't know that I believe that every single instance, like for instance, me saying Alea's name as Deo instead of Dao, like I don't think that that created like a timeline split. Do you know what I'm saying? Like some people believe that like every little nook and cranny kind of creates like another space and a place. Like to me, I'll be honest, that is just way too dreamy for me at this stage.
Mm.
you know so I think that what it is it's a time to really highlight karmically who we've been, who we are, who we want to be. But also this is a 9 year, so it's about completions and beginnings. So, like that karmic letting go of what it is that no longer is serving or vibing with us. I feel like you can kind of cast it out into the ocean with Pisces season.
Yeah. I feel like Pisces season, it's interesting. It's The time of year, probably the season that the most people are either uncomfortable with or very comfortable with. It's has an interesting effect. Now, I think it is probably that karmic element of it.
Huh? And maybe all the
And
water, the ocean of
yeah, it's like the galactic ocean. I like to remind myself and maybe others that as you move through this season and you're talking about your past, current, and what will be when it comes to timelines or karmic situations or experiences, past lives, when you course correct this one or any of them, it does apply unilaterally to all lives.
yeah.
So, the often I think Pisces season is a great time in which to meditate or journal, maybe go into trance, work with plant medicine. You can really access a lot of those parallel or past lives during this time of year if you're interested in knowing or sensing or feeling what your other existences have been. It's a good time of the year to do that, especially now that we're into like the mid decade of it. And it's a big opportunity really to blanket everything you've ever been as a spirit.
I also think that when we go that deep, it's super important to talk about energetic purification, like in terms of
Yeah.
order of operations, delving into like the multidimensional fractal, places and spaces within us. Um, it can be like super powerful. And being that we're in Pisces season, like water, water, water all around us. I personally, as a water sun sign, uh, uh, I think of purification as a real empowerment tool within this space that we're in Pisces.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I do too. I think that's great. The purification um analogy for it. And for those that do think timelines are just constantly opening up, also if you miss one, I don't even know if I like that word, but if one passes you by and you feel like it was a little bit of some turbulence, well, they're just going to keep opening up. So there's no really better or worse timeline. They're just alternate ones.
I think that goes to the good and gooder principle.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really what we're choosing is good and gooder. And I think that like Pisces really reminds us as that little fishy kind of swimming around our frequency, you
Mhm.
know, like our frequency determines our reality.
Yes.
That's
Through the
true.
law of attraction. Yeah, that's truth. I mean, it's how you tune into a radio station, you tune into the frequency you want to hear. And that's exactly how our bodies and auras and spirits work. We tune to a frequency that we want to attract.
It's like, yeah. And I want to invite people to really get to a place in a space where they feel like they're engaging in some energetic purification can be as simple as taking those deep breaths that we talk about, like in terms of those actionable steps, like taking 10 deep breaths and then like going into clarity around what it is that can bring more peace, more joy, more good and gooder, more
Yeah.
better, all of those things that sometimes we can limit. And I think that because Pisces is like kind of the end of the states of awareness astrologically, I feel like endings, completions, especially in this, season in 2025, just I think that we're going to be in awareness that this is going to be in front of us more and more.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember, say you are experiencing something, unpleasant, or you're like, what am I at this frequency? Is this really what I've attracted? And remind yourself what you be now is what you become when it has to do with frequency. And talking astrologically, I like to give ourselves the 6 month rule roughly. Like give yourself until the complementary sign of where you're at comes comes to fruition. So we're in Pisces right now. So if you're experiencing something challenging, try and you can reflect back maybe to last Virgo season, and it could be a culprit of your emotional tone or frequency at that point, something that you're now having fruition on. But if in this experience you tap into a different tempo and ability to elevate your frequency within this challenging experience, then likely by Virgo season, you're going to reap some incredible rewards for that.
So I'm going to straight up do a little NLP moment because I don't dig the Capricorn heaviness of challenges. So what if those challenges, quote unquote, were learnings, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
in those learnings, they stretch us, right? They
Right.
stretch us, they grow us, they can sometimes stop us in our tracks. um
Yeah.
but it took because I'm being super aware of the frequency, because our next guest is here to like speak with us all about sound healing, amongst other things. And I just really want to invite people to take their unique spiritual and emotional, because Neptune rules Pisces. So it's a great time to naturally flow through to what you're spiritually transforming within yourself, maybe connecting with, maybe experiencing for the first time, you know, but use that Neptunian energy, to dream, to have your spirit experience, to flow, to
Yeah.
transform. And energetic transformation, I think, is always possible. I kind of think that it's built in, Scott, like you said, from that karmic place and space where you're healing all of you, all of the we from not only this lifetime.
Yeah, and it's okay in Pisces season to not have like detailed clarity. It's more about energetic and frequency clarity. It is that feeling, that mysticism. It's very abstract. It's like a great time to be creative, like artsy, things that are not defined really as black or white. It's a great time to really lean into all those things.
And I think that that kind of neither black nor white is kind of what frequency is about,
Yeah.
um, for sure. And I just want us to really stay in understanding how I'm kind of framing frequency right now is, where do you frequently hang out from the inside out?
Yeah. What's
Right?
your
From
defaults? Yeah. Yeah. Where do you reboot to? And yeah, totally.
or where do you just be?
Yeah. Where do you be?
Because what we be is what comes. And so, with that said, I think that, I mean, I don't know about you, but the awareness of all of this is starting to make so much more sense of the universe, like around us and what we're experiencing right now. And I think that the frequency that we hang out in is our opportunity and our responsibility to be the absolute creators of our reality. And with that said, I know that our next guest is going to be with us, and she's going to be exciting and she's going to be fabulous. And I want to actually just give you like a little preview before she actually comes on because she's like so accomplished. It's going to probably take me every bit of this 2.5 minutes to like actually facilitate explaining all of this fabulous woman's accomplishments. So her name is Aleya Dao, and she is a sound healer. She is an energetic practitioner. She's a licensed acupuncturist in the state of Colorado. She's also a minister in California. She is a doctor of Oriental medicine as well, certified in New Mexico. And she has been an integrative and alternative healer for 30 years. She started her education at Lewis and Clark University in Portland. And she went on to earn her master's in Oriental medicine from the Southwest Acupuncture School in Santa Fe. So she is a multi-talented, multi-versed healer that we are going to be very humbled and privileged to have with us today. Are you formulating your questions for Aleya, bro?
I'm taking notes.
Oh, you're taking notes. There's a lot of notes because she's done a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the most interesting things is about harmonizing our frequency, like from an empowerment standpoint, because I feel as though, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of education formally, and then a lot of education that's formally that's integrative. But I'm guessing that most people don't have the background like Aleya has. And we have not been educated. You as a musician, of course, are well aware of frequency. But the average bear, and as a physicist, you're aware of it by degree. But a lot of us are not. Did you like the way I put that in? Because I know you say that. That was my impression of you by degree. And so, this opportunity to be with somebody that does this is incredible. So without further ado, we're going to bring on Aleya Dao, and she's going to help us and teach us all about how we can harmonize our frequencies. Hi, Aleya.
Hello, how are you, Michelle?
Great. Awesome to see you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Great to see all of you.
Nice to meet you, Aleya.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for being here.
Excellent.
So today we're going to speak with our listeners, Aleya, about, I read your incredible background to our listeners already because I said it was going to take like half of our interview time, and I wanted to jump in because you're so accomplished, and I want to actually jump into the topic while we have you. We're so humbled and privileged to have you with us. We were just talking about harmonizing our frequency and supporting ourselves through this incredible time of transformation and empowerment at Earth School.
It's intense.
It's intense learning, right, my new friend?
Yeah, and that feedback loop is getting faster. So when we had thicker veils, basically like a curtain between the dimensions, 50 years ago, your feedback loop was a lot slower. So you could hold an energy and it would take a while for it to show up. But now the thinning of the veils continue. And actually, I was energetically looking just the other day and saw this parting of the veils that happens over the next 6 weeks. So kind of an intensity of pulling of the curtain, which then accelerates the feedback loop. So whatever you're holding inside yourself, it shows up really fast.
So now is kind of this integral opportunity to come into awareness of our frequency. and kind of my rudimentary, because y'all are the experts on this.
Our
Um,
mastery.
my understanding, and just for listeners, I was trying to make it super accessible, because it's a very profound and deep concept of frequency and what that means for us as individuals, universally, galactically, what that means, right? That's all present. I was defining it, and Scott, I also like need your support on this. But where we hang out frequently is what becomes our frequency from the inside out,
Right.
which is super rudimentary, but I think in how simplified it is, it shows how easily we can lose track of those awarenesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted y'all's thoughts on how we can come into awareness, how we can then harmonize ourselves. Like, we need some advice, because, like you just said, Aleya, the veils are thinning, things are speeding up.
Yeah.
And sometimes in that new orientation, we sometimes have our frequency outside of us
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
rather than from the inside,
Absolutely.
determining
And
it from the outside.
what you're talking about from in my languaging is our attachment. And so if we want to explore the idea that we are energetic beings, we exist in the physical dimension, but we're also multidimensional, which means we express ourselves in other dimensions as well. Our energy fields have these little threads like cords, and whatever we're attached to, we get impacted by. And so, if we are the light worker, we want the world to be a better place. We can throw all of these threads of attachment external. But then, when we do that, if we're attached to people being in integrity, being aware who are not aware, we get then empathically impacted. That immediately creates a feedback for our own selves of going into a dissonance of what these other people are doing. And so we're no longer now modeling a strong, coherent field. And so, just super simple, basic concept is, what if every single day we took a moment, 2 moments, to lift all of those threads of attachment off of everyone and everything, and we're only attached to the light that flows within us? Now we're holding a strong, coherent field. We positively, empathically impact hundreds of thousands or more, because we're only attached to what we have going on inside ourselves that feels supportive, sustainable, and in alignment with who we are as an individual. So I can't project what I value onto you thinking, oh, you need to hold peace or you need to hold happiness. Well, what if I really value calm and you value freedom? So we get to do our own jam by being attached to that inner world.
Yes. What say you, my brother?
Oh man, nailed it in so many levels. The only thing I would go a little just further with that are just tools to maybe access that, and again, we talked about the other day, but the rain philosophy is very, very potent in doing so, like recognizing what it is you're feeling, accepting it, then investigating it, and non-attaching from it. So that is like your ticket to the neutrality that can really help you anchor into your white light inside, emanate the frequency you want to be at. There are other techniques, tones. Yeah, put on some sound bowls that help your body find that feeling that you learn that you have whenever you're in that state. I use breath a lot. I know we talk about that a lot, but pranayama and breathing is a great technique, or even having a couple affirmations that you can latch on to when you need that.
Beautiful. So you're talking about the how, Scott, and I love the how. It's like where I live.
Yeah.
Right? Because so many people talk about the concepts of like, oh, well, just love yourself or be kind or be compassionate. I'm like,
Yeah.
but how? Like break it down into teeny tiny little baby bits. And whenever I'm learning something new, I'm like, I just need to break it down into the tiniest little pieces. And the breath that you talk about is so essential. And we all have to breathe. We all breathe. And so it's the variable of, are we using the opportunity of our breath to pull ourselves into our divine lines? And from my perspective, our breath is also connected in with our energetic fields. And so when we invite our breath to use our energy fields to pull all of our attachment and our awareness back to this light that's within us, that is perfect, that is connected, that is authentic, and it carries qualities that each one of us as souls have mastered, then we start amplifying more self love, more resilience, more self worth. And then we stop doing all of these dysfunctional patterns to get our needs met because we're anchoring deep in the core and meeting the needs by simply using that breath or a sound, a tone. It could even be a silent tone, because sometimes when we're in the market or on the freeway, we don't have our lovely, huge, giant crystal bowl. And so it's, well, what would the sound of me pulling myself in and being attached to the light that flows within, what would that sound like? What would that feel like? What's the texture? What's the color? What's the aroma? And then we're using all of our energetic senses that are also physical to amplify that inner muscle.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm glad you mentioned aroma because, yeah, carrying a little essential oil around is a great thing to have. And just dry inhalation can really help you. And when you're out in the world and need this. Yeah.
So,
Oh,
I mean, I know I'm your guest, but what are the challenges that you guys have been seeing people coming through with lately?
for me, I would say that there's a collective disempowerment of the world not looking the way that we thought it would look
Mm-hmm.
or the way that it should look. One of the analogies that and I don't know why this just comes intuitively. And I've asked clients, does this like kind of resonate with you? And it's almost like if you were married for like 70 years, right? And all of a sudden your partner passes and like, you're very old, you're at, a funeral, a lot of your friends have passed, but there's this person that's there that's very unfamiliar to you, but very sad. And you actually find out that your partner had another partner on the side, like their whole life. And you thought things were like one way. And it wasn't that it was like horrible or bad. It was just like I had no idea.
Right.
And so I feel like folks are awakening to an experience that is shocking because maybe things weren't even like wrong for them.
Right.
And they're like, okay, like, wait, where have I been?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Like a
what?
major wake up.
Like a huge wake up. And it's not, I think, necessarily an anticipated one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that the awareness of our soul contracts, like I find myself when I see millennial clients and I tell them like, I'm really excited and I have like optimism about where we're headed. And it's so sweet because people will be like, wow, Michelle, it's really good to hear you say that. And so it tells me that they're not experiencing that
Right.
in the world. And not that they even note that there's something wrong until they hear something right or see something differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's just this kind of rapid awareness that people are coming into, especially the younger folks that are millennials on down that came
Mm-hmm.
kind of, I mean, if you think about it, if we're at the dawn of the age of Aquarius in another 75, 80 years, we'll fully be into it. There are people that are alive here that will definitely be there for this.
Yeah.
And so, for me, I'm observing their experience of a rapid awakening. And I say to them, I'm 56 years old, and this just started for me at about the same time it started for you.
Very
Like
cool.
before that, like, yeah, maybe we were pioneers and we were vibrationally a little bit different than some of our friends. Scott and I have talked about this as Gen Xers, like maybe we were the ones with the inner barometers, but they're awakening so rapidly without the life experience that possibly we've had.
Hmm.
So providing that frame, which I think in a way has its positives and also has its opportunities for great learning that, as my Capricorn brother says, might be more challenging. So
That's a beautiful frame. Scott, did you want to say? Have,
Well, I guess the thing I've noticed, and probably coming out of that 24-degree full moon in Leo, is all things relationship oriented relationally. So, relationship with others, but also relationship with ourselves and relationship with the collective. Um, Anything out of integrity is getting sensed. And on the collective, like you mentioned, now that the feedback loop is moving at a more exponential rate, like anything out of balance is getting reflected back really soon. So I'm seeing it in some people at being physical manifestations. So if it's an inside out
Mhm.
net six situation, like they're dealing with physical things, a lot of relationship things with significant other kind of experiences going on, but also just a little bit of a bewildered deer in headlights relationship with the collective. Now that we're full on Pluto's entered Aquarius first, but then now that like the sun's there, and it was an epic Aquarius season. So like all things relational, I think is what I'm witnessing.
Fascinating.
Self included.
Yeah, I know, right? None of us are immune.
and we're at that 2 degree like Pluto space,
Yeah.
right?
We're feeling
And
it all. Yeah.
so what Scott and I are referencing, Aleya, and for our listeners that just might be joining us for the first time, is that there is a wonderful guy that we had on, and somebody that Scott and I have learned a lot from, Christopher Witecki, and he married the degrees astrologically to, I would say, states of awarenesses as well as action steps that we can orient ourselves, um, making sense of what sometimes feels so nonsensical.
Right.
And so breaking it down to numbers and frequency. um, so that's what we're referencing with like a 2 degree, and that is all about feelings, 6 degrees, all about like balancing, and relationally trying to balance, I think is something that we're trying to do from within ourselves and with the collective for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm also seeing a lot of people attracting things like that are having really good mastery of their frequency right now, attracting really beautiful things to themselves. Also, so
they're
really, yeah, the door is swinging both ways.
So they're probably holding a really strong coherent field inside themselves, right? That puts them into a harmonic dimension. And from my perspective, when I work with people and they're like, I really want this thing to happen in my life, floor. So how can you amplify the vibration inside yourself, increase your frequency, move into a more harmonic vibration? But again, working the energy, what I call the divine line that flows within, then that naturally moves us to that more harmonic dimension where we can then tag into those relationships that we're wanting to connect with.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so but there is this one thing when you guys were talking about planets, and in my work, and I'm not an astrologer, okay, I know nothing, but I do know that there are planets around this planet. And so when I work with people who are really into astrology and they know a lot, Or they say, oh, I have a challenge with this particular planet. I'm like, well, what if we did some energy work with that planet? And my angle is when we're in the position of the physical dimension, we have the feedback loop, meaning all of these other dimensions and all the energy in these other dimensions reflect into the physical dimension. So when we're in the physical dimension, we have the ability to make a request for an energy to shift in another dimension at an amplified state. Then we get the feedback loop down here of when it's full, when it's enough. Whereas when we're on the other side or in other dimensions and we don't have access to the physical dimension, i.e., no feedback loop, we can make little shifts, but not exponential. It's very etheric. And so when we're down here and we feel this planetary alignment or this planetary challenge in our chart, we can actually shift our relationship with Pluto, with the moon, with the sun, with Mars by using our position to say, well, Pluto, how would you feel about embracing your true essence self even more? And releasing any attachment or returning responsibility appropriately, or releasing empathic sensations, or embracing your wisdom and your light more. And then that planet actually goes through a vibrational transformation that positively impacts us while we're here in this world having a challenge with our astrological chart.
I love that.
Mm,
You know, it
yeah.
brings it to such a personal place and space where transformation, I think, has to happen. Is It's an inside job always, right?
Right.
And that was one of the things, Aleya, that I really wanted to ask you about, is that you have such a unique approach to working with your clients, right? It's just so encompassing and enveloping and meeting them where they are. I just wanted to know a little bit about your journey and how you brought all of these arts together.
Took a wee while. No. So when I was a child, I was super sensitive. I could feel spirits and it freaked me out. And I could feel people's emotions and I didn't know what I was feeling. I just thought that I was crazy. And then when I was 12, 13, I started getting really intrigued with different mystical art ways and massage and Chinese acupuncture. And then when I was in college, I ended up going and getting my master's degree in acupuncture, oriental medicine. And then fast forward a few years, I was in Telluride, had an alternative clinic, practicing acupuncture, doing Reiki because I was Reiki master at that point in time, and I was about 27. And then at 30, I continued my exploring education in alternative medicine and was on a sound table in 2001, and music is kind of coming through this waterbed that has speakers underneath it and there's crystals overhead. And I had a practitioner who was just very neutral and just holding this very safe space, no agenda. And in 30 seconds, my entire consciousness shifted and had awareness of the last 1800 years or so on this planet, other planets, other places, spaces, could feel and perceive angelic beings of love and light who were like on the angelic Bluetooth headset being like, you are not crazy, turn left now. And I was like, all right. So I had this incredible guidance system encouraging me, coaching me, guiding me very intensely for 3 years. I was just being like held and would have incredible insights, took all of these insights into my private practice because I was doing acupuncture and Telluride at the time, and then started having dreams. Working with sound, was a closet sound healer for a few years. And then my guides were like, you're going to be making these sounds in front of people one day. And I was like, you're crazy. There's no way I'm going to go to somebody. And then I ended up moving to Santa Barbara. And every morning around 4 or 5 in the morning, I'd wake up, kind of like a wake dream. And the dolphins would be like, meet us at Butterfly Beach at 8:13 with your kayak. And so then I'd get there at Butterfly Beach in Santa Barbara at Montecito at 8:13 and the dolphins would be pulling up.
Yes.
So I'd go out and they would encircle me and teach me how to tone and use sound to heal and shift and awaken. So that's just a tiny little sip of, kind of the beginning years of being sensitive to all of these different dimensional realities.
I have a very strong connection to dolphins as well. So that no pun intended, super resonated with me. Dolphins. And then I learned in Costa Rica that I apparently had connections to whales, and I had not experienced that before. And they were in a migration pattern, and it was October during rainy season, and they kind of rolled through. Um, and I woke up one morning when I was there, and, I'm not a rain lover, especially not torrential tropical rain, but, friends were going for lunch, in town. And I said, no, I'm just going to hang out here because the whales are coming. And in Costa Rica, you're able to say things like that because they're super connected to nature. And, even though as with Americans, they were like, whoa, you're really taking this whole like connection with nature thing. I said, yeah, I know it sounds like really out there, but I'm just going to wait. And I literally only went from like the kitchen, which is where I could see out the veranda. So I could like quickly, like 5 feet, like scoot and be there. And sure enough, in the late afternoon at about 4 o'clock, they started breaching.
Wow.
And it was like, when I swam with dolphins before, like it was just, I couldn't believe it. And it was just like, okay, so there's part of me that vibes in this way. And I've never even paid attention to that part of me,
Beautiful.
you know?
Beautiful.
And
Well, you
I,
do love information, and the whales are the galactic library keepers,
Yeah.
and they hold the highest consciousness on this planet. The highest. They
see, I
actually
have
have
such a beginner's mind. I didn't know.
and they have opposable thumbs.
What?
Yes, they have opposable thumbs in their fins.
Okay, emoji, like mind blown. Like,
Aleya, do you remember what time of year it was you had your epiphany?
oh
It was
yeah,
April
it,
24th, 2001.
Okay, you very much know.
Yeah, at 5:32 p.m.
Taurus season.
Yeah,
Do you know what your ascendant
lots
is?
of Taurus. Lots of Taurus. But some Libra, biologically born September 27th, 1971.
Just curious what house your
Don't
thing
know.
is going down. But yeah.
I mean, I've known, but then I forget, right?
yes. I've forgotten a lot to come into this density, my friend. So
Okay, so I do have another like one liner with that. So in our enlightenment experience, we remember and then we forget. And then we remember and then we forget. And every time we remember to a deeper degree than the time before. And every time we forget to a lesser degree than before. And so, with like England and the tube, mind the gap between your remembering and forgetting. Many souls remember themselves prior to their launch. They forget themselves on their exhale as they come into this world. And then when they leave, i.e., depart, die, they remember themselves again. And that's a huge rush that a lot of people are willing to take. Personally, I don't like the rush because it's exhausting. And so I mind the gap. Inhale, remember, exhale, forget, inhale, remember. So we have the opportunity to remember our essence in every single breath.
yes. I said something last week, Aleya. I think it was last week, supposedly. I said that my dad, when he started to practice yoga, he came up with this line. He's great at one-liners. And he said, most people breathe like they're paying for it. And
That's funny.
so I started to tell everybody, like, hey, you need to breathe. It's free. And it's like amazing for you.
That's so good. I love that. So true. So true.
And yeah, he's a very practical Virgo. He has a lot of Virgo in his chart. And so he has a way of just like kind of cutting to the reality and like what folks are doing. But I'm still like, Scott, you've got to say something, because like my consciousness is like still on like, oh my God, this thing is
Whales
so
have
big.
opposable thumbs.
Like, what's
Yeah.
going on in my head?
I mean,
No thumbs, big thumbs.
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty mind blown as well, but knowing what they do for our planet frequency wise and tonally, being that 75% of it's covered with water, and what they emanate uh, on a sound wave daily
Right.
basis for our planet is very palpable to me and cannot be underappreciated.
No, they're working the
You
grids
know,
exponentially.
they're working them, yeah, exponentially, intuitively, like with the kind of knowledge, the alien type knowledge that we had in Atlantis. They're like doing that work for us on the
So
planet,
that
right?
we don't have another one of those uh-oh moments.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
So,
and in 1986, you know, when we had the harmonic convergence, where 86, 87, 85, 86, 87, it was 3 years where Galactic Council, Earth Council, I'm going way out there with you guys because you seem very out there, so we're just going there. But if you're like, reel it in, Aleya, I'm happy to.
no, please.
Okay, so
This is awesome.
85, 86, 87, Galactic Harmonic Convergence, Galactic Council, Earth Council, everybody chatting, talking it up, being like, is there any way that we can create more divine intervention to create a more supported reality for the evolution of the planet and humanity? And during the harmonic convergence, there was a yes, divine intervention will be more allowed. And so in the last 30 some years or whatever it's been since 86, I don't do math well, conscious multidimensional being that I am, we've had more divine intervention than in the last 1,000 years, 2,000 years. And that's created time continuum shifts. So we're leaping from one time continuum to another time continuum, which is why it's so hard to track time, right? You were just saying like, oh, it was a week ago, maybe it was a year ago, like, I don't know. So we've got all of these shifts happening in our time continuum. And I feel like the whales are working full throttle, tending those time shifts, keeping us on a harmonic track, which is also why life feels so weird and the light frequency is so different than just 10 years ago. And then I'm tying it into the whales on Sirius, which is where I'm from, where I came from. And on Sirius, the whales and the consciousness there were working with the planet, with that oneness. And the whales swim in a body of water that on Sirius is called a lake, but in this world it would be called an ocean. It's all etheric, another dimension, not physical. And the whales have swum there so long that the water sings their song. So whales, harmonic convergence, timeline leaps.
Yeah. I mean, I would even wager that the whales are actually very applicably attuned to and implementing that the illusion of time, like that it's imaginary, it doesn't even exist. So what they're doing is with their tonal support, that's why it feels like a warps in time to us, because we're not as acclimated in 3D school to the illusion of time. So they're just working with it and manipulating frequencies on a quantum level for us here. Yeah.
I think what's really interesting too, what Aleya was saying, is that she's from Sirius.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what we were talking to you about, the step system astrologically, it's called Sirius Joy.
Oh, that's great.
It's
Because
called that.
Syrians need joy and humor.
Yeah, apparently they do. Apparently they do. And it's really interesting, because when you were talking about the harmonic convergence, one of the things that I was going to ask you, Aleya, is about our light bodies coming forward and the harmonization from kind of the density that we all signed up for in the meat suit. Like, one of the things that I always kind of joke about is that I really want to see the fine print on my soul contract. I was like, wait, who talked me into density? Like, how was I sold that bill of goods? Like, why did my soul need to incarnate in a place that I'm bound by 3D? And now I feel like the 5D worlds, that people talk about popping in and out of, I know there's even many more layers and levels to that are multidimensional. There's somebody that we listen to. Where is Zach channeling from, Scott? Is it the 12th dimension?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it's the
Yeah.
12th
Yeah.
dimension. And like, he is like this ascended master. And like, when I hear like the woman, she's a British woman, Janet, somebody, pardon me for not being able to recollect her last name. When she channels him, I can feel myself losing space, time around me. I feel like I know the dude.
You probably do.
Probably.
Yeah. Those are the things that I think used to make us question, like, wait a second, like, nobody dropped LSD in my Wheaties today. Like, what? And I really and truly am curious as to how we can support people in experiencing this multidimensionality and being here and now and being present and like being able to operate your car and like stop for all the stop signs and remember to turn off the stove. And oh God, what's the alarm code to the house that I just walked in so it doesn't go off? Like,
So I wrote a book called Seven Cups of Consciousness, and it talks about these 7 concepts. And when you understand these 7 concepts, you can navigate reality and ascend in a really balanced way. And one of the concepts talks about the meat suit that I call the body deva, nature, spirit, physical, human form. And in that moment, when I had that flash of awareness, enlightenment in 2001, I was palpably aware that I was an etheric being and I was riding on the front of the spine as just a beam of light. And around me, I could feel the consciousness of my body that was completely separate from me, the soul riding in the body. So it's like we have the soul rider. You are the etheric being having an empathic physical dimensional experience. Your body is in the physical dimension, but it's also multidimensional. And so as a soul, if we want to be of service and we want to value these qualities that we've cultivated inside ourselves, we could work with our body and say, hey, body, you have all of these skill sets that I don't have. I can't control you. I can't be attached to your journey. I can be attached to the front of your spine so that I can be like a conscious rider. It's sort of like when we're riding a horse, we don't want to be constantly trying to pull ourselves off the horse because then the horse is going to be like, what's wrong with me that you don't want to ride with me? And so when we are souls riding on the front of the spine, we now can model a strong, coherent field to our body, coach and guide instead of control. And then the body moves into greater degrees of empowerment and can track in the physical dimension. But when we start to awaken as souls, we start to project what we value onto our body. We start to control our body. Now our body gets totally disempowered, starts to navigate in dimensions it's not calibrated for, but we are. And things get funky fast. And so when we are in this active, engaged awakening process, we ask ourselves, well, how can I be a conscious rider and coach and model and encourage and invite the body to use its own energetic fields to nurture and tend to its own self? So that's my frame. It might not resonate for everybody, but the people that I work with, they do resonate with it and they notice huge shifts that start to happen in their life because of those.
What are a couple daily small empowering rituals that somebody can do?
Super simple. You're lying in bed and you're like,
Yeah.
body, when do you want to get up?
Mm-hmm.
Just like,
Yeah.
I just leave a little note. Okay, I'll be really quiet, snuggled up on front of spine, and you just sleep a little longer. So that's like one very simple thing to do before you even get out of bed. The other one would be like, body, what do you want to wear? Because it's not, it's not my clothes, it's your clothes. And then we're inviting the body to become more conscious of itself. And then a third practice that's a little bit more advanced is saying, body, you have a divine line that runs through the spine, the spinal cord. It's actually a divine cosmic loop, but we'll just go with the spinal cord, divine line. Body, in your divine line is your essence. And what is it that flows in your divine line that runs through your spine that you value? What's a quality in your divine line that is an aspect of your essence that you value? Now we're coaching and encouraging our body to become more self-aware of its essence, which cultivates more self-love and self-worth.
And awareness of your values. I love that. And I love the reference of using body because it puts you in that observer position immediately.
Yeah.
Love that, Aleya.
Mhm.
Thank you.
We're galactic
I'll use
beings.
that.
Yeah. No, it's fun. It's really fun.
We'll give credit to Aleya. You're going to put that in your martial arts
Body.
pen,
I really might. Yeah.
right?
I'm working on so we refer to it as the martial arts, and it's, compiling. It's a nod to Bruce Lee, who created his own form of martial arts called Jeet Kune Do, taking all the classic, antiquated, even maybe martial arts, and created his own form of that, like his own customized to himself. And I guess that's one of our mission statements with Empowerment Unleashed Now, is for encourage everybody to be completely open without any limiting belief systems in creating your own pathway to ascension and become your own martial artist in doing so.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, because I think that as
Body, what
souls,
do you want?
body, what do you want? And as
Yeah.
souls, we come from other worlds that have information that this world doesn't have. And so what do I remember that I do on Sirius that stabilizes me? And what if I did that here?
Yeah.
Yes. I just love the idea of using our own voice as a healing tool of empowerment, right? Like that's ultimately, this incredible opportunity to feel like, wow, what I need is right here in me.
Yeah, you already have it. All you have to do is remember it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's like a big, like, aha.
We come in with it.
I come in with it.
Enter with it all. It's not something we have to achieve or acquire.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. No,
We
it's
don't
so
remember.
And a lot of times people ask me, like, well, how can I utilize my guides in a really healthy and empowered way? Because sometimes we ask our guides to do things for us, and then that creates disempowerment and neediness. And every day I invite my guides to remind me of my guides and my team to remind me of my soul song and my body's soul song. So if they're singing the sound of the essence of me and my body, or singing the sound of their essence, that creates a strong, coherent field. And then we move into a stronger resonance with something that's authentic and natural and 1,000 times easier to hold than all the dysfunction that we've been empathically impacted by ancestrally and societally.
hmm hmm I have a question for you, um, Aleya, about guides, about spirit guides. I feel very connected to animals, as spirit guides. That speaks to me. I mean, I'm wearing like a massive dragonfly. Like I have experiences with dragonflies like often.
So that could
And
be your body deva's guides.
oh, I
Body
love
deva
that.
has a team, and the team is composed of nature spirits, etheric. But those nature spirits might be like a phoenix or a unicorn or a dragon. And then we can invite our body to tune into its nature spirit guides that are of Earth and maybe even galactic. Because if we're very galactic beings, then our body has been seeded with some galactic energy in order to sustain ourselves while we're here in this body. And so you could say, body, you have nature spirit guides, but you also might have nature spirit guides of another world. And what would it feel like to bring those around you and have them encircle you and hold a strong, coherent field that positively, empathically impacts you as you navigate in the day?
Yes, wow, that's very profound and very helpful. So I have this meaningful relationship with animals, even with plants as spirit guides. When it comes to some of the angelics, that's been profound, but it's the ones that kind of have taken on a human form for me in terms of my consciousness. So I can recollect that are kind of interesting and funny. One of them, so I have a spirit guide. He's called Two Feathers. And he's very much, I think, probably from like my Anasazi lifetime. It's one of the lifetimes that I do remember. Um, and he has said very profound, like meaningful things to me. I've written those things. I have this, I also have like a spirit guide that I never met Two Feathers in body in terms of me being in this body in this lifetime. And then there's another indigenous, he's crossed over, but he was Ho Chunk. And so he's kind of given me wisdom. But I have this one funny guide, Aleya. I've never shared this publicly. Scott, you know who I'm talking about.
No.
Scott's like not, wow, she's going to go there publicly on the podcast. But I feel like Aleya has such a grip on this. Oh, I know that I had a lifetime in the Scottish Highlands. I remember it. I remember my horse. It brings tears to my eyes when I think of my horse. I remember my sword. I loved my horse more than my sword, but it was a close competition. I'll tell you that. And I have this spirit guide. I don't know his name. I think that that's part of this experience and game that we're playing together. And he is this very burly man, very
You just said,
burly.
why do you need to know my name when you know my laugh? Like he has an intensity to him.
Yes, an intensity to
Yes, but a humor too.
day. So Aleya,
But it's
he's
a
a
little
trip.
rough.
It's a little rough. And he's sitting on a brown couch when he's talking to me in an apartment from Park Slope. And he's wearing his kilt and he has on no shirt. And he laughs at me about my perfectionism. He's like my guide to teach me. And I want to know more. I'm so glad he told you. What do you need to know the name for?
Yeah. What do you need? Like, you know, my laugh.
Wow.
Okay. So it's funny because every morning my husband and I start our day. We have 2 border collies, and border collies are the highest energy dog on the planet. Love them dearly. And we're sitting in the hot tub and it's full throttle gale. And it's like howling wind and raining. And we're both sitting there like with our coffees, like, this is not very relaxing. And my husband looks at me and I'm like, it's like this every morning on the Scottish Isle. And I said that to him and I was like, where'd that come from? So anyhow, I was channeling or tuning into your guy. And let me just ask him what he wants you to know. I mean, he has the accent and I don't know if I could nail it, but he's like, oh, sweet lass, you're already perfect deep in your core. Oh, sweet lass, you're already perfect deep in your core. You knew that a long time ago. And then you started comparing yourself to others. And that's when it got into a slippery slope of shit. Okay, that's what he just said. So take it, leave it. No comparing self to others. So the how on that one, all your sunglasses stacked on your head. You never take your sunglasses off your head and you're like, I have a lovely inner world. Then you'll always be perfect. And in gratitude, which cultivates humility. That's funny. He's like, are we allowed to swear on the air? We just did. Oh, he's funny. I would offer him lots of beer.
Ah,
Yeah. And so when somebody is in another dimension, the
ale.
time that they can experience, the physical riches is when we use our position here to make a request for them to enjoy the donuts, the beer, the chips, the ice cream, and then we don't want it for ourselves. So anytime we're over consuming something, explore the possibility that your peeps in the balcony want a little some.
Oh, and invite them.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like a huge learning also. My God, I feel like I'm like in a client session with Aleya. I can't even like imagine what a client session with Aleya is like. If you could tell us, Aleya, in like a synopsis of what you do when someone books an appointment or somebody wants to work with you, if you're still seeing people, how does that happen?
So I do. So everybody's different. So I started recording these little daily meditations in 2009, and now I have like 2,500 meditations online. They're energetic protocols, really. And so people will typically start with the daily cups, and they'll start working with their energetic fields. It's sort of like the dojo that they go into, building their energetic muscle, pulling themselves into their divine line. They might read the book, Seven Cups of Consciousness. And then at some point in time, people feel called and they're like, oh, I want to do a one-on-one session with Aleya. And I typically do it like an hour, hour and a half. Into during COVID, I was booked out a year. I restructured my reality because that was a lot. And now I'm booked out like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So that's way more manageable. And I can actually like open my book and be like, oh, I could actually take 3 days off, right?
I understand that. Yes.
And in a session, I meet people where they are in terms of their knowledge, their energetic capacity, and my primary frame is, what is it that you hold inside yourself that is your wisdom, that is your mastery, that you could amplify more of and utilize that to support yourself in every area of your life. Because when we start to cultivate more self love, self worth, then all of these other patterns go away. So I don't focus on what's wrong, I focus on what is right. And I would say 80% of the time, there is an enlightenment experience that happens in every session. So if I did like 20 sessions in a week, because I try not to do more than that because it's fatiguing. It's
Yes.
incredibly fulfilling, but it's also fatiguing.
Yes.
And I like to be fresh and give my 100% in every
Yes.
single session. But there's weeping in almost every session in a good way, like weeping with relief. And people just feel like they come back to themselves or they clear this huge burden that they've been holding that wasn't even theirs or that they picked up in the womb or that they had from a previous incarnation. And my joy, my absolute joy is having somebody come in with a challenge and I get to go hunt and see where it's coming from. And maybe that's 7 incarnations ago. Maybe that's from the future. Maybe it's from the world that they're from. Maybe it's from their body or their teams. And then help them use their own energetic fields to shift it and move into greater alignment with their power.
Beautiful. And the best way that we can access you is through your website at aleyadao.com. Is that correct?
There's that one. That one can be a little overwhelming because it's got like 4,000 pages. So going to 7 cups of consciousness might be a little bit easier to navigate if you're new to me. 7cupsofconsciousness.com. And you can sign up for a free month of the daily cups. And then once every 3 weeks, I also do a tall cups, which is like an hour-long energy balancing session. And then I have 3 coaching sessions. So 15 to 20 people in a coaching session. And those happen every 3 weeks. And they're scattered. So if people want to have a smaller one-on-one experience, not really one-on-one, but a small group experience where they can talk to me, I can look at a personal aspect, then we can do a coaching, and that can give them a frame of, does this resonate? But also just doing the free month of the cups will also help people determine if that's an appropriate mechanism to support them.
I love that. And I want to ask you another question, Aleya, before we kind of let you go, because we really don't want to at this point. But may I ask you what you are feeling most empowered about in your life right now?
My garden. So I grounding. Grounding is because I spend most of my time surfing multiple dimensions Mach speed, when I'm not doing that, then I love to project and garden and be with my chickens. I just got chickens, 3 chickens. And so talk to the girls, give them the broccoli. And I am working on a few books right now. So that's also really fun and exciting to have these ideas. One of them is for kids, of how to deal with the monsters that really are under the bed. And then the other book is about riding right in your body. So all the things that I'm passionate about that I live every day, writing about that and sharing that with everyone that I work with.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us. It's absolutely beautiful. And we hope that you might join us again, my friend, because this has just been like a scratching of the surface.
I know you guys are great.
Please.
You guys are
Please.
great.
Oh,
So fun. There's so many places we could go.
thank you so much. And my brother Scott, you want to lead us on out, my friends and our listeners, with a beautiful affirmation, sir?
You got it.
Thank you.
I'm aware of my frequency. I am connected with my values. I now remember I am perfect as I am, as are you. No remembering is more or less valuable than the other. Every remembering or awakening is its own Genesis block. What I need, I already have. My power is innate. I see my wisdom, my mastery, my wizardry. And I'm grateful for the whales.
Thank you so much. Thank you again, Aleya, for joining us. Thank you, listeners, for listening to us. Please remember to like, to share, to subscribe. Drop us a comment. Whatever we can do to help, we want to. Peace be with you all, and we will talk to you and see you next time. Thank you now.
Thank you.